College football fans, welcome back to the College Ball Show. He's Marshall, I'm Chris, and we're here to talk some college football bowl games, obviously. Life kind of got in the way, you know how it goes. So we are going to just do a shortened show tonight. We were thinking about doing it Monday. Stuff got in the way, so we figured, why not waste your time and do too long of a podcast. So we're going to kind of jump into this stuff. We'll have a little bit of recap. There has been some interesting games, but, not a whole lot. Obviously, it'll probably mostly be Minnesota Gopher talk. Just kidding. So, yeah, we'll definitely get into that. And then, of course, we got some big games coming up. Obviously, Friday, Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, Bama. A lot of interesting games like Oklahoma State and Notre Dame, Iowa, Kentucky, kind of mirror image of each other. Utah, Ohio State. Utah definitely is probably going to be a little bit more tuned in for that one because that's a big, big deal to make the Rose Bowl for them, whereas Ohio State, they look at this as a slightly bit of a disappointment. They do have two of their top three wide receivers out as well. I can't wait for Baylor Ole Miss. I know that Baylor does have some folks out in that one for the Sugar Bowl, but that should be a good game regardless. So we will preview and predict all this good stuff, a handful of these games in just a short little bit. If this is your first time listening to the College Ball Show, welcome. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. You don't have to go to Rope-A-Dope and Blog Talk, though. You can find this here College Football Show under the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher. We're also on Amazon Music. I forget to mention that sometimes. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. And one more thing. If you're thinking about cutting the cord or you're happy, not quite happy, I got something for you. It's called DirecTV Stream. The prices start as low as $69.99 a month. It's the best of live TV and on demand. No annual contract. No hidden fees. If you upgraded the Choice or Ultimate package, that'll give you 3 free months of HBO Max. Plus, you get to enjoy regional sports networks with no additional fee that you're seeing a lot more nowadays. If the cable package even has, all the sports networks. That's been a regional thing anyway. And then if you go to the Premier package, that'll give you HBO Max and Showtime right there in the subscription. That's DirecTV Stream. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Marshall, and see how he's doing on this fine December day. 2 days before, I suppose, about 2 days before we flip the calendar. How are you doing, my friend?
So I got good news for you. I was going to save this for the show. This was not pre-show discussed, but don't worry, it's not a trivia question, Chris. I'm not going to throw you under the bus.
I was just going to stop the recording and say, all right, so we're going to fucking do this again.
You son of a bitch. You've done this for 7 years, you bastard. Okay, so don't pause the recording. We're allowed to continue. There's no trivia question on your part. But due to the evil C word, I have a freshman coach who's traveling on vacation who didn't know she'd be a coach this year, and my head coach and varsity assistant coach is out with COVID. Your buddy in Texas is going tomorrow to coach his first ever varsity high school basketball game.
Nice.
So again, obviously,
COVID thing ain't too bad for you. I mean, shit.
And again, I wish my coaches were healthy. And they're having minor cold symptoms. I don't think neither are in critical condition. I wish they weren't sick. But the fact, but it is what it is. And tomorrow will be the first time on the sidelines. Actually, and being the man I am, Chris, I'm like, all right, you know what? I want to coach my JV kids, and I'm going to coach my varsity kids after. So I'll be coaching 2 games in a row. And I was just thinking about this. If I get tossed, if for some reason I got thrown out of my JV game, could we go back to the player coach MLB idea of, if I get thrown out my JV game, am I allowed to coach varsity game? I'm not sure if that's in the guidelines of Texas basketball. But nonetheless, I'm nervous and excited. I called my dad. I was like, my coach said, do you want to coach tomorrow if we're both out? Because I was waiting on a different, one of the COVID, one of my coaches was still waiting for a test. And my dad's like, dude, he's like, you know what you're doing? Like, enjoy it. Have fun with it. So I was like, all right. So I text the coach back. I'm like, yeah, I want to coach. So I'm nervous. Again, I wish these people weren't out, but it is what it is. So it should be a really fun experience to enjoy tomorrow. And I can officially have one high school game under my belt. So I'll let you know how it goes on our next podcast. But it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it, man. That's my opening positive rant for the day.
That's dope. That's really cool. I like that.
I'll
think
text
if it was
you too.
football, I think if it was football, they'd let you coach. But in basketball, they're like, fuck basketball, dude. This is Texas. Who cares? I think if it was football, they'd definitely let you coach that. But yeah, just try not to get tossed, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if I get tossed in my JV game.
Then we'll know you were just afraid. That's all.
And it'd be the same refs. He'd be like, hey, I'm back again for the varsity game. How's it going, guys? I know I'm not going to get any calls this game, but hey, how are we doing, sir? Nice to see you.
That's another thing, too. Yeah, you can't be getting too wild in general because you're going to screw up your varsity club if you do too much there.
So, yeah, but besides that, hey, and another positive. Actually, I have two positive stories, Chris. I'm actually up on bowl games this year. I don't have a crazy rant for once. Like, I've actually been hitting my bowl bets. But I've been hitting my bowl bets because a couple of teams have been starting third-string quarterbacks. So when Nevada and Va Tech started a third-string quarterback, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bet against this team. And both those have easily gone through. Western Michigan beat Nevada 52-24. And mind you, Chris, so I'm getting a cavity filled in, which was why I couldn't do a show Monday. So they're drilling my teeth. And with my dentist office, there is a little digital screen where you can put the remote on for watch a game. So I'm literally getting my teeth drilled into. And as that's happening, the dude takes the kickoff back to the house. I'm like Tiger Woods fist pumping. Well, I literally cannot talk and move, and there's a drill going into my tooth. But, it's been a very good bowl season so far, man. So, and even today, Maryland beat the crap out of Va Tech, who was on third-string quarterback. So I'm all happy. Normally I start off with a rant. Today is a lot of happiness and joy. I hope you don't bring me down at all, sir.
Well, I can't. There's no, guarantee that I won't. I know last night PJ Fleck could have possibly scored at the end of the game, but they decided to just take a knee, and I think there was still a little bit more time left. And they just said, screw it. And I don't know if it was a second half number or what. Or maybe it was an over-under. I can't remember what it was. But I saw Twitter just flipping out after I got off work. I actually watched like a little bit at work, and then we shut it off just so I'd be able to see the full game. But They were pissed off at Fleck for something because I saw Fleck trending on Twitter, so I just hit it. And they were really mad that he did not score because everyone's like, dude, I got this. What the hell are you doing? It must have been like a 12-point – I think it was a 12-point spread in the second half or something like that.
Okay, because I was going to say, I actually bet the Gophers with you, for your Gophers, and they were only a -5.5. And the over-under, that game stayed really low. So, yeah, it must have been a second half point spread bet. You're right. That's the only thing that would make logical sense to me. Because the over-under.
12. Because I remember seeing them talk about 12, and they won by 12. So it must have been like they just needed a field goal, and that would have pumped people up over it.
Yeah,
they were up 9, 15-6 at half. So that's probably what it was.
You're right. In the final half, in the second half, the score was 3-0.
Yeah.
So maybe
dude, the Gophers. You're right there. Like, you could do something. But they just were able to burn it out all the way, basically. So they said, screw it. They left a couple of scores, not necessarily touchdowns, but they left some offense on that field, no doubt about it. The defense was like lights out. the Gophers were just killing that quarterback early in the game. Just they must have got 5-6 hits on him just in the first half. But they definitely left something on that field as far as offense. It should have been probably like high 20s to 6 or something like that. But I did see people freaking out about that. I saw a good chunk of that Air Force Louisville game. Once Air Force got up, I said, well, good luck, dude. You know, once you're up on once an option team gets up on you, we used to say this about Georgia Tech all the time. Remember, it's like, hey, as long as you don't trail them by like 2 scores, you'll be fine. You can beat them. But if you start trailing them early, good luck with that. That was a pretty good game. And these are just, recent ones. It has been kind of fun to see like Florida kind of get beat cleanly. That Army-Missouri game, sorry to bring up Missouri, but I did see that. That was a pretty good ending. There's been some okay games, but nothing that Fresno UTEP, that was a good game. I remember that one, but nothing that stands, way out that we, break too far down. What's your thoughts so far?
Again,
or something?
Yeah, I've been watching them, but a lot of them really, I think Vegas has been spot on, but a lot of it's been due to, hey, said stud player is opting out or transfer portaling. And it's kind of killed some of the vibes of the games. And again, every guy's right to do that. That's become the new college football, word that we're going to podcast for next year. But like I told you, a couple of teams are on third string quarterbacks. Like, well, no shit, dude, your team don't got a chance. Like, and you kind of feel bad in a way, like, cause, but again, it's to each their own. But for the players who are playing the bowl games, dude, when you're trying out third string quarterback, well, it's going to be hard to win. But yeah, so I wouldn't say there's been like, and I know you said there was some Twitter news on Gopher game, but I don't think there's been like a bad beat aside from that. A lot of the games have been kind of wider margin spreads. I did watch the Missouri game. They did blow that one. They were up 1 with about a minute to go, and they scored a touchdown to go up 1, and then their quarterback missed a wide open wide receiver to go up 3. And of course, I would have made a 3-point lead, so that field goal would have sent the game in overtime. But Missouri ends up losing by 2, so that was a tough loss. But yeah, besides that, man, it's just been a lot of wider games. But hey, I've been winning tickets, so I really don't care. I'm good with all that. And Dana Holgerson, who I've bet against almost every bowl game he's ever coached, because he was 1-7 against the spread, won yesterday with Houston. This is the coach who normally doesn't care about bowl games, but Houston did pull off a 12-2 season, which, hey, that any D1 team that wins 12 games, you've had a hell of a year. So, credit to Houston for beating Auburn again, but Auburn had a handful of guys who were opting out or transfer portal people. So, just to kind of
the great almighty Bo Nix isn't going to be an Auburn quarterback.
And that was going to kind of be my final point to wrap up this little opening segment, is the fact that, and I'm not even saying I like it that much because I really don't, but it is what it is. And just the fact that we literally now have a free agency like the NBA does, we're like, dude, I don't like my coach that much. Transfer portal. Like, again, I know the rules are fair. It applies to every team. It is what it is. But this transfer portal, it's almost kind of become like, dude, I'm transfer portal. It's like what it almost doesn't seem like it's with college football. It seems like this is a NFL free agency thing, but it's not. And it's literally any college kid can say, dude, I'm not happy here. I'm leaving. So I think it's kind of changing the sport just differently. It is what it is, but to me, Chris, it seems so strange to hear, well, said quarterback for X team is not playing because he's in the transfer portal. Well, wait, what? Like, you can do it before you even play in a bowl game? Like, I just don't like it for a college sport in general. Again, I know it is, again, it's set in stone, but I'm not used to it yet. I guess I can say that. It just seems strange to me that it's become a very common theme very quickly. And I think it just kind of puts teams in weird spots. I think the transfer portal should be allowed, but make the kids play in their bowl game, because that does, again, put teams in very weird spots. Like today, Vodtech, both your quarterbacks go on a transfer portal. Well, shit, that's a slap in the face to the other guys who battled with you for the whole year. Now you got to try out a kid who had 20 snaps the whole season, and you get your butt kicked in a bowl game because both your guys left. Like, okay, transfer portal's cool, but make you play your bowl game and then leave. That's just my 2 cents on the rule. I know it doesn't mean much, but that's my thoughts on it.
Well, let's back it up. First of all, the transfer portal has basically been in college basketball the last few years because remember they've been approving. This is why the rule changed, because they've been approving you can play this year. Because remember, before when a coach would leave and they bring in a new coach who happens to have a system that you're not going to fit in, you were just screwed. You had to sit out a year. Well, that was on some dumb shit.
That is fair. I'll give you that.
They could have figured that out in college football a lot earlier. Notice, though, they were giving – it didn't work all the time, but a good chunk of it, basketball players were able to play the next year, a lot of them, because you put in your little, thing saying, hey, either the coach left or, someone in my family's dying. I want to go closer to home, that type of thing. We always hear those stories in college basketball. So that was an ongoing thing in college basketball. They didn't call it the transfer portal, but it basically was that, I don't think first of all, you can only use it once. So it's not like you constantly will be doing it.
Fair.
And they set the tone for all this stuff when it comes to paying athletes and all that. NCAA just let these coaches do whatever the fuck they want, and the player was getting screwed over and over again. So, it's going to take some time to go the other way. One thing though, sometimes what I think what people aren't paying attention to, unless it's your own team that you cheer for or a lot about the team, is a lot of players will be getting benched or be buried on the chart, the depth chart, and you go into the transfer portal. Like, all right, cool. You don't want me? I'm just going to transfer portal. So some of it's that. I know as far as the Gophers this year, that's basically all it was. It actually was a mutual benefit thing. Hey, we're not going to play you. So, you might as well go someplace else, and then we'll bring someone in. And the easy come, easy go, you do get to bring in guys and plug them right in too. So I actually don't have a problem with it. As far as the thing, I think you mean well as far as saying you have to play all the way the bowl. But then let's change the rules. Then the coach has to go all the way there too. This whole recruiting cycle, they obviously need to a lot of it's this. They need to fix this so a coach can stay on
You're
the
right.
whole bowl game.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't see head coaches dipping in the NFL if they're on a team. You know what I mean? Unless they get fired. Or, once in a while there'll be some weirdness deep in the playoffs with an offense coordinator or something like that. But they need to fix the whole thing. We can't just now pick up, now it sucks, because, I don't know. I mean, a lot of young players playing these bowl games too already. I don't know, that's something that's been going on for a couple decades now, because they're like, well, we're not going to play you as much in this game, so we're going to play our guys for next year too. So it's been a combination of all this stuff, but I still think it should be there because they never should have had to sit out a year anyway. That was always just ignorant. That was always just not player first, athlete, student athlete, whatever the fuck you want to call them. But I see where you're going with that. But if you are a part-time starter and then they just put you at the end of the depth chart, well, if you got to, it's also they're putting the quicker you get in the transfer portal, the better chance you have at landing someplace that's going to fit you too. So you're in a weird scenario where you're like, well, everybody else is getting that portal, I got to get in there, So it's going to take a couple years to figure out. This COVID shit is also, I think people are downgrading that too. When you get these extra years, Marshall, a lot of these transfer portals are like, I'm splitting time here. I'm dipping. I'm just going to, the Pickney dude from Clemson, who got a starting job here as a D tackle, he was splitting time, and he's like, well, you know what? There's this young stud below me. They want to play his ass. They're just cycling me through anyway. Why don't I go someplace where I'm wanted? So it's a weird thing that we are going to have to get used to, but only in college football, because college basketball has basically had the transfer portal, because so many kids in the last 5-10 years have gotten approved to play the very next year. Not all of them. I know,
Sure.
like Marcus Carr, the year we went to the second round, we should have had Marcus Carr. But for some reason, the NCAA, who the fuck knows, right? They just were like, nope. We probably would have made the Sweet 16 that year if we had Marcus Carr. But all signs pointed to we were going to get him, and the NCAA just fucked us in the kid. So it is going to take a little time. But like I said, a lot of young players play, not just reps in practice, but they play in these games too. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like it takes some getting used to, but let's jump in this. I just realized
okay.
Wait.
Good deal. Cool.
We're already at 20 minutes. Okay. So the starting quarterback for Pitt is not playing. Michigan State's already the favorite. I think Michigan State's gonna win that game, especially without. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll have a guy that we haven't seen, so you don't have much tape on him. But I'm thinking Michigan State is gonna win that game. What do you think about? Oh, you know what? By the time this goes, the Oregon-Oklahoma will already be playing. It'll already be done, basically. So we might as well not even preview and predict that game. Wisconsin-Arizona State's kind of a hardcore barn burner. I was going to pick Purdue to pull the upset on Tennessee, but then Purdue has Moore out, their number one wide receiver, and then I think somebody else got hurt too. That's pretty good. They either have one or two guys out. So that's enough. It's in that Music City Bowl tomorrow. I was going to pick Purdue in that one, but I think Tennessee's going to get that done. I'm kind of bouncing off of that one.
I think for Tennessee, I haven't heard any opt-outs, and obviously with the stud for Purdue being out, their wide receiver, I would lean Tennessee because that guy's been their whole offense almost all year. So, yeah, I'm with you. There's some talk that the Purdue coach Braum, who I've always liked, he's done a hell of a job, might be going to Louisville. There's some talk and rumors about that. So that would be, I mean, it's random news, but that would be something to look into. So, yeah, I would lean Tennessee. Again, and if you're Tennessee, dude, you're still trying to win every game you can. Because you had an okay season, but not great. And for a fan base who's a little been pissed off for the last 6-7 years, any win you can pile up is a positive win, Chris.
Iowa, Kentucky. I'm leaning Kentucky, but these two might as well just look in the mirror at each other and say, yep, that's basically our freaking program, because they're going to play hard-nosed defense. They're going to try to play fundamentally sound rushing the ball with a good line, but they have struggles offensively, and they have struggles throwing the ball. It just seems like we've just seen so much up and down from Iowa this year. I'm gonna side with Vegas. They have Kentucky a 3-point spread. Their favorite.
There is no way in hell I'm betting Iowa. After watching that team play all year, no way. Go Cats. Go Cats.
And that's something that I don't think no matter what sport, I never thought I'd just hear that sentence right there. Talking about positive with Kentucky. Oh my gosh. Oklahoma State and the Irish from Notre Dame.
Well, speaking of coaches that bailed, I mean, yeah, Notre Dame's coach is. Kelly went to LSU immediately, so I know they upgraded their DC, didn't they? Yeah, but still, like, that's a whole new little situation. And if you're Oklahoma State, you finally beat your big brother in OU. Like, that should be a really fun game. I would take Oklahoma State just because, oh hell, it's a 2-point. Well, actually, no. Actually, excuse me, Chris. I'm taking Notre Dame. I've still not forgotten.
I was going to say,
That was a
once
brain
you
cramp.
don't like a quarterback, I don't even know why you ask questions.
Yeah. Spencer Saunders, dude, no. Go Irish. Do not. If you want to watch a guy who's going to throw 3 to 4 picks essentially and have 17 plays in the red zone with 1 touchdown and choke, bet Oak State. Go Irish. Well, I'm not saying go Irish. I will bet. I would cheer.
Well,
for
you already said it. You already
Good
said
God.
go Irish.
I want to rescind. I want this podcast to be rescinded, and I want the tape to be burnt. I would choose the Irish. I'll say that.
There you go. That was better. I liked how you did that. I'm gonna go with the mullet man. I'm going with Mr. Frickin' Pick Six. I'm going the opposite. Just
Good God.
Penn State, just by sheer name, in the Gophers losing to Bowling Green, got into this spot. This was our spot. This was the Gopher spot. But when you lose the Bowling Green, guess what? You don't deserve it. Can Arkansas kind of get that midseason form back into it before they hit that gauntlet and get the dub over the Nittany Lions? Or is Penn State going to carry some momentum into 2022?
I'll just say this. I think Arkansas has got one of the best coaches in college football. And you know what I believe about James Franklin.
I was going to say, we're not talking about Ole Miss, right? Okay, I was just making sure.
Go Pig Suey, go Hogs.
All right. And I think Arkansas will find their midseason when they were
1.5 point spread. That's a tight one too.
It's pick 'em, dude. That's what I do like about these games. And sometimes, we talk about opt out this, opt out that, or whatever, or transfer portal. But some of that shit evens up the game, though. You know what I mean? So you're like, actually, I like this transfer portal game because it's a tighter game now. Other times, like you said, they fuck up the game. It's kind of funny how that works. Speaking of that, obviously the Utes from Utah, this is a huge game for them in the Rose Bowl. Big, big game. They're only 4.5 point underdogs. I believe they were 6.5 or 5.5 not long ago, until 2 out of the 3 studs from Ohio State are not going to play in that game, wide receiver wise. So that obviously, causes a little bit of issue. So much of me wants to pick Utah in this because the way they, once they got their shit together, Marshall, they really look good down the stretch. The way they waxed the Ducks back to back. I think there's a game in between, but I thought that was pretty impressive. Do you think just overall roster talent, top to bottom, will do it for the Buckeyes, or the fact that this means so much more to Utah, you think the Utes will get it done?
Yeah, I think the motivational angle is going to obviously be important. We've seen this, Chris, since we've been friends. A more of a blue blood school playing a school that's like a wannabe blue blood, and the wannabe blue blood wins just because there's extra motivation. We could list 10 or 11 examples of games being close, and Utah is a legit B-level program in college football in America, and Ohio State is an A-level. But Ohio State got their ass kicked by their rival for the first time in 15 years, and they missed out on the college football playoff. So again, are they really maybe excited to play Utah in a game that doesn't mean to them what they thought they'd be playing for in the Final Four? Probably not. And hell, that was the first time in, I think, 5 seasons Ohio State lost a Big Ten conference game. So I think the motivational angle is there for Utah. And you're right, they don't have the skill level Ohio State does, but Utah's not a joke. This isn't a scummy team. And again, they beat the team in Oregon who beat Ohio State. So the skill level might be an edge up, but it's not a vast difference. So I would go with Utah. I hope Utah wins. I would definitely take Utah with the 4.5 in what should be a really fun game to watch in California.
It wasn't 15 years, by the way. Okay, it was 8 years. It was 8 years since they beat them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sure.
You're right.
I mean, don't bury Harbaugh that much. Jesus Christ. He wouldn't have a job. But also, you make a good point about the Oregon, but week 1 and week 2 Oregon they didn't look like anything like that after those 2 games, did they? I mean, if we're being honest, that didn't look like the same squad.
Yeah.
But
no.
I hear you. I do. I'm actually going to pick Utah as well. I just think that it just means so much. They've never won a Rose Bowl, so this is the first Rose Bowl they've been to. So they're like, oh, we're all about this. This means a whole lot. Especially if what they got to do is just stay in the game early. You know, they're not a comeback team. If they can just be in the game at half, I do like them down the stretch. Number 8, Ole Miss versus number 7, Baylor. Baylor does have a few guys out. They got, I think their second best wide receiver, because I think he's pro eligible. Their defensive end, who's a stud. Somebody else out. Just looking at this, obviously, offense against defense. Clearly, Baylor, the way they closed this year, they're carrying in a lot of momentum. And, to be fair, it's the same with Ole Miss. You look at, I don't know, it's weird because Ole Miss gives up a grip of rushing yards, 182 to be exact. And although Ole Miss can run the shit out of the ball, as we know, they average 224 a game. They got the quarterback and the running back that can run. It's a great rushing attack. Baylor averages 214 a game. So it's really like they're going to take their ball and go home. That's what Baylor wants to do. They want to control the clock, keep Ole Miss, the swaggy Ole Miss offense, off the field. I don't even know why I'm asking you who's going to win here, but it's really a game of keep away. They really got to ball control, hog the ball, and I think Baylor can beat Ole Miss. But, man, when you got like 3 important guys out on your team, it has me kind of lingering.
Yeah, I'm obviously going to pick my boy Lane Kiffin, of course. So I hope Ole Miss wins. I will say though, Matt Corral is actually going to play. So he's one of the rare, and Sam Williams, who is the stud D lineman for Ole Miss, they must have such a great head coach that he's encouraged them to play football. So as of now, from what I've seen on Google and what I've heard, is Matt Corral, who is going to the NFL, is going to play. So that obviously is encouraging. I hope Ole Miss wins. Kiffin had the most wins in Ole Miss history, so I hope they finish 11-2. So I'll be cheering for Hotty Toddy, go Ole Miss. I hope they get the job done. I think they're a more explosive team overall than Baylor. That's just obviously, I guess I'm probably biased, but yeah, I hope they get the job done.
Their defense is more explosive too. Is that what you said overall? So,
I think there's more talent on the team. We'll see, but I hope Ole Miss gets the job done, and I'm happy Carl's going to play. And yeah, so I will take Ole Miss minus the 1.5.
There's 2 words I got for you why he's playing draft stock. That's why. He wants to bump that thing up.
Okay. Fair enough.
I would pick Baylor if it weren't for these 3 kind of key-ass, a defensive end who draws a bunch of double teams. I remember watching multiple of these games, and I don't know. I like Baylor to win this game, but the opt-outs had me stepping away all the way away. And let's make sure this 10-game season stuff, let's make sure it holds, because they already set the record a few years back, but you know how that went. They had to take away that stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
My phone cut out. I missed what you said. Moving on to the next games.
Well, here, I can turn the volume up. You not hearing me? All right, Cincinnati. I'll say this about Cincinnati. At least they didn't go Central Florida on the thing and claim a national championship and all that shit. You know what I mean? I thought that was some corny ass shit, to be honest with you. But here is your opportunity. And I know a lot of people, the first thing they do is get Bama. Well, we all know Bama, sure, Bama showed up against Georgia, but pretty much every other game, on both sides of the ball, it's still not the same. They probably got an opt-out or two. Well, probably not, but I know they have an injury, that's for sure, to a key piece. But, the Bearcats wanted this. They got a damn good defense. Speaking of running game, they can run the ball as well because as we know, they got the combination thing. They actually rush. Oh, that's so weird. They rush 147 yards, Alabama. For some teams, that's really awesome. But to see them averaging only 147, that's weird to me. But they are 347 through the air, so that makes up for it. But Cincinnati's not known, speaking of run, for their run defense. But they do have a damn good defense. It's aggressive. They get after the quarterback. They definitely play good, like in the secondary. I mean, they're giving up only $1.68 a game. Now, clearly, they're playing in a league that's not as good as, say, the Big 12, Big 12 as well, SEC, Big 10, whatever. And it's also weird to see, Marshall, the passing yards being even over 200, let alone 223 per game. That is so wild to see that from Alabama. My point is, long story short, you got what you wanted. Bearcats, now you got to prove it. They played well against Georgia last year during a COVID year, sure, but they did. Georgia was still a solid team, and they damn near beat them. It's hard to pick against Saban when he just had a month to study it.
Yeah, that is probably the toughest part, especially considering the performance we just saw from Bama. But just to copy and paste some information from ESPN, this is the best secondary Bama will see all year. Of the 2 cornerbacks and 2 safeties on Cincinnati's team, 3 out of those 4 guys are going to NFL, and one of the guys is not allowed a receiving touchdown on him in his career. So, I mean, again, I'm not saying Cincinnati's going to win, but this is the best passing defense Cincinnati that Bama's seen all season, which says something, considering, they're from, the SEC. So, if you can make Alabama more of a conventional, we're going to run the ball and you offense, you maybe got a chance. Now, the issue, I think, is the fact that Chris and I've kind of been tough on this guy since we've done our podcast, and it feels like this is year 7. I don't think Desmond Ridder is going to beat Bama. I think Cincinnati's defense can hold their own for a while. They can make Bama work. They can make Bryce Young work like LSU and Auburn did. But Desmond Ridder, in my opinion, is not going to be able to outwork Saban. So I think that eventually, as the game wears on, Alabama's offense will find its cracks and find a way to score. And I don't see Cincinnati's defense doing that. I just think and again, you can say Cincinnati's quarterback's had a good year, and maybe he has. But look at who Cincinnati's quarterback has had a good year against, and then tell me which of those defenses would compare to Bama. So I think that's the biggest difference. I think the Bearcats defense really holds their own. But when you look at Cincinnati, who they played, they put points up on Houston, ECU, SMU, USF, Tulsa, Tulane, UCF, and Navy. Those are teams some of those teams are okay. They're middle of the pack. They're maybe like a C+, B- kind of football team. But those aren't Bama. So I think they're just not going to be able to score enough, and that's going to eventually lead to a game being worn out in the second half. I hope they make it close, though, because I don't want to hear a bunch of clowns say, well, we put Cincinnati in there, they got their ass kicked. Well, mind you, Bama has made Notre Dame become a laughing stock for a handful. Like, if Cincinnati does get beat, Chris, 35-10, you can't laugh and say the committee never should have put them in. Because Bama and Clemson have done this to many teams. It wouldn't be a slap in the face. Like, they earned the right to be there. 100% they should be in the game. If they get blown out, that doesn't make them less of a team than what Notre Dame has put up in the last handful of years, just in my opinion.
Well, and I like what you said about, comparing Cincinnati, who they played, but the problem is you can do that with their defense too. those numbers are in that league, so they're shutting down. And you know, and a lot of those teams that used to be juggernauts on offense they weren't this year. A lot of them weren't. So,
Fair.
And another thing is last year, and I say last year because a lot of that defense is back, you know, from Cincinnati. I mean, if those guys are going pro this year, 3 out of 4, that means they were there last year, more than likely. So,
sure. Yeah.
Unless they were hurt or whatever, or had COVID, of course. But I don't remember all of them. But you're right. There's an nasty D. But Georgia, it was a different quarterback, Daniels. He put up almost 400 yards on him last year through the year. And Georgia's not really known to be chucking it around all day. So it'll be, you know what I mean? It'll be interesting. Now, Daniels is a better thrower than the guy they got right now. But, yeah, I'm hoping that they keep it close. I mean, they put up a respectable effort for, like, beyond respectable against Georgia. They lost that thing in the last minute. I mean, it was close the whole time. They had a double-digit lead. I thought they showed really well. It really kind of felt like it was tighter than this, but that LSU Central Florida game, that was a very competitive game when they did have their chance at a big boy. So, all right, one more to go. Number 2, Michigan. Number 3, Georgia. You know, since this thing's open, it feels like it's gone up a notch. Wasn't it 6.5 when it opened?
I believe, yes, sir. Yes.
So it's gone up a full point. They're pretty close to, like, when they talk about mirror images, it's pretty damn close that way. I mean, it really is. Both of them have talent. Both of them can recruit their ass off. I guess you'd say momentum is definitely on Michigan's side, but, you know, it's almost a month ago. And obviously, you know, sometimes you see a team that looked the part. And by the way, another thing I was going to add on, Georgia had the best defense in the country, hands down, and look what Bama did to that defense. I forgot to mention that. But, you know, a lot of that can be, we can't do it. They're saying we can't do it. They're saying Georgia's the new king in this, you know. So a lot of it was, you know, Saban had a lot to rally them behind. And I'm just wondering, will the Bulldogs really kind of shit the bed and end? You know, we've seen teams do this. I mean, there's undefeated teams. I remember a few years ago, Miami shit the bed down the stretch. Like, it happens. You know what I mean? It does happen. And it's like it's going to go one or the other. Either Georgia's going to be super pissed and they're going to go out and put on a great performance against Michigan, or they're going to shit the bed. You know, what is your, you know, gut telling you? I do kind of feel like Georgia's going to represent themselves and look more like the team heading into the SEC championship, not the one on that Saturday afternoon that got their ass kicked.
I'm not sure why, but I'm going Harbaugh. I don't have a great reasoning, Chris. I just think that Michigan wins this game. I think that Georgia was riding high. I think they felt like they were going to take care of Bama. Bama whooped them up. And I think that if Michigan plays like they did against Ohio State, I think they'll beat Georgia. That was a ground and pound performance. We're going to beat you in the line of scrimmage. And in my opinion, Ohio State's football players are the same damn team as Georgia, and their offense is probably better. So I'm going Michigan. I don't got a great answer, but I just think Michigan rides their momentum from beating Ohio State. And I think they take care of Georgia, so I would definitely take them with the spread for sure.
According to ESPN's
had to go there.
Football Power Index, the Georgia Bulldogs, why are they even playing this game? That's what ESPN's saying. 67.1% chance. And I'm with you. I just, whether it's an it factor, if you look at 2.5, almost 3/4 of that Michigan State game, Michigan was on. Shit got fucked up. They ended up losing that game, but it did kind of spark it. Well, it sparked them after.
Sure.
So even in that game, they should have won that game. You know what I mean? And I'll say that the committee, remember they brought that up saying, well, I hear you, but damn, that was a tight game, dude. It was a tight loss, and they looked pretty good during it. And the more I thought about that, I go, you know, Although in that scenario, I wouldn't have liked, if Michigan State would have stayed unbeaten and all that. We know how that was going to go. I do think they'd ultimately have jumped them. But when they said it like that, I said, God, they do have a point, but I'm not ready to concede. But I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm going Michigan. I just think it's like the it factor. It's all flowing. They got their confidence. And they got a month too. You know what I mean? So, but I think it's going to be a tight game, but will Michigan beat them outright? I feel like they will, but either way, that 7.5 points is meaty. So I would definitely take that. Any other items you want to discuss? Because we do want to shut this puppy on down.
I think we're good, brother. Again, I just hope that I keep betting on teams who I hope I keep betting against teams who have players opting out, and I hope I keep cashing tickets because I've got some Christmas presents paid off for it. It feels good. Normally, I come onto a podcast and have a rant about why God knows what coach did something that's unimaginable because he's in a bowl game and doesn't give two shits. I've not had that happen yet. Now, there's still time left in the year, but a lot of the games my co-host and I just previewed are highly ranked teams, and you're not going to see as much crazy crap happen when the games are against teams who are competing for something, that means a little more. So, yeah, that's it. When we start for our next podcast, I will let you know how my first ever high school varsity basketball coaching game goes. So on that note, Chris and I will be recapping the games we discussed, and we will be previewing the future national championship game, which should be a hell of a game. It should be a great game. And as George has said, they were doing their best to avoid COVID protocols. I think there was a couple of players that maybe had even a leak out of it. And as we've seen, this new virus is maybe not as hurtful and harmful and deadly as the last one, but it seems to spread quick. So I can only imagine these college teams are doing all they can to keep their players nestled in their rooms because I could only imagine how much it would suck for the NCAA to say, oh, yeah, the Georgia-Michigan game is postponed because Georgia had COVID outbreak, and now Michigan, you're now in the championship. Because there's not really any replacement, Chris. They can't we're going to sub in Ole Miss or Penn State there's no fixing it now. So I do hope we get to enjoy these two semifinal games because they both should be fun to watch. And I hope that the medical gods let it happen because it should be a lot of fun. So until then, stay safe, stay warm, have a very fun and safe New Year's. The boys will be back again soon. Peace.